Welcome back everyone. Hi, if you're new, I'm Tori, and today we are going to be getting into all of my spoiler-free thoughts on one of my favorite reads of 2024, which is none other than Empire of Silence by Christopher Ruocchio. This was incredible. I feel like I'm still not over this book, and I just had way too much to say. I mentioned this in my recent reads video. I just had way too much to say, so much love for this book that I just thought it deserved its own standalone video. So we're gonna get into all of that today. If you haven't read this book, definitely feel free to watch from beginning to end. I'm not gonna be hitting on any like major spoilers, but I really wanna get into Hadrian as a character. I love this world building, and we just have so much to talk about just in terms of like how Christopher Ruocchio uses structure and the prose, and I love this. I feel like the year is really picking up because it's been a while since I've read something that just really blew me away. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments if you've read Empire of Silence, or just let me know where you are in your Sun Eater journey so far. And if you haven't read this book, if you're still sleeping on Empire of Silence, I need you to wake up. This was incredible, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's get into it. Quickly jump into the background of this series. So this is book one, again, in the Sun Eater series. This is going to be a planned, I believe, 7-book series, and the 6th book, Disquiet Gods, just recently came out in April. So my journey with this book actually started in 2023. I picked this book up pretty early last year, I think like back around in February, and I was making good progress in it. I was actually really enjoying it, but just ended up putting it down because other reads started to interfere with my reading experience of Empire of Silence. So I went the rest of 2023 without making any real like significant progress in this book, and finally recently I went back and I started it from the very beginning, and this was just right place, right time. I feel like I was in a space where I was just really wanting something like epic in scope, and this just delivered on every single level of what I was looking for in terms of world building and scope and character. And I love this so much. So like I mentioned before, just in terms of story, this is a framing narrative. You have far future Hadrian looking back on all of this, and he tells you up front who he is. He tells you that he is responsible for destroying the sun, killing billions of people, also in the process of this ending the war against this alien species called the Cielsen. We have all that information up front. We know how this is going to end, and so from there this entire story becomes, how did we get here? How did this happen? How did the Hadrian that we're first introduced to turn into this infamous, just huge, kind of almost larger than life character who could do something like this? And the journey starts in here when he is about 19, 20 years old, and it is, I need more adjectives. I can't think of anything else. It's incredible. I feel like Christopher Ruocchio does such a phenomenal job doing two things at the start of this book. The intrigue is there immediately because you want to know, how are we going to get there? Just on top of that intrigue that pulls you in and that's driving the story, you have Hadrian as a character. I love Hadrian's character. I could sit and talk about his character for hours. When we first meet him, future Hadrian, he's going back again to when he's 19, 20 years old. He's the son of a nobleman, comes from a powerful house. He's the eldest, and we get to see Hadrian in this really strong opposition to his father, who has his own ideas of power and ruling and things like that. And then you also have Hadrian in strong opposition to his brother, who is just foolish and doesn't know what he's doing, but has a lot of the father's tendencies. And you get Hadrian in the midst of those two, and he has his own ideas that seem, morally aligned with what's good. He has his own ideas about power and about obedience and war and ruling and things like that. He doesn't even want to rule. Already we get this incredibly strong foundation for this character of who he is. And so when things start taking a turn for the worse for him, you feel everything, and you're just invested in everything. I've seen comments about this book just from my recent video, and then also I posted it over on TikTok too. People, talking about that it's slow and that it's so boring. I can give you slow in some areas, but boring where? I think this is incredible. I think it's such a good character study of who Hadrian is, and in the back of your mind, you know what he's gonna turn into, and every situation that takes a turn or things that are shaping him over the course of this book, you just keep thinking about how this is going to turn into, the future Hadrian. And I want to talk about prose and structure of this book together because I do think they go together really well in this book. It's not that the prose is just like so flowery and like purple prose. Like, not like, the prose is good. It's like high quality prose. It's good. And Hadrian definitely has his moments where he just is going on and, you know, things sound nice. But the prose is so incredible because of future Hadrian. There are so many moments over the course of this book where future Hadrian knows when to interject, and it hits you. Like, you'll be in a scene and Hadrian will tell you what went wrong in the scene from his point of view now, or this is what I now know about fear and obedience and power from that situation. It's so good. All the moments when he just knows when to come back and insert his future self just elevates the prose in just the most incredible way. I really love that aspect about this book, and that plays into the structure of this book because obviously you know what happens, but none of the tension of these situations that Hadrian is going through is lost because you know what happens already. If anything, the situations he gets himself into are more intense because you do know what happened. I think the prose in this book is just so careful and so carefully crafted and beautiful in that way. I think this is a framing narrative that is just done so perfectly. And the prose is not philosophical in a way where Hadrian is just spewing philosophies. The book in and of itself just gets you thinking about the small decisions that have altered the course of his life and that have set him on the path not only to meet the Cielcen and just how Hadrian's views about the Cielcen have been formed over the course of his life. It's so good, you guys. And what I also really love about Hadrian's character, this is someone who had it all, had a comfortable life. He didn't want to follow in his father's footsteps. I think there's so much to say here about paths that are laid out for us and how just little things that happen, detours that happen, betrayals that happen completely can alter the course of your life. In my recent reads video, I mentioned that the world building in this is just on a different level, and I meant that. This world building is just outstanding. For us to even just get this much world building and depth and detail and the scope of it in a first book like this alone, it's incredible. I compared my reading experience to this of something like The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, just in terms of scope and history and how much we get in a book one, and this is no different. I love stuff like this. Reading this reminds me of why I love epics like Star Wars and Dune. I don't love the book Dune. I like Dune fine enough as a book, but I love the movie Dune. Dune Part 2, I would actually put somewhere in my top 10 favorite movies of all time now. I love it. And that kind of world building and scope is what I feel when I'm reading something like this. Just even the way we see these different worlds and creatures and just the politics and the different organizations across this empire I think it's incredible, you guys. Are there slow moments in this? Definitely, especially when we begin to get into the middle of this book. But like I said, there's not a boring moment in here. Everything that happens is shaping the Hadrian that we have only, been able to see through snippets of when he inserts himself. As you keep reading it, you want to see how all these things are going to connect. You meet such an interesting cast of characters in this book, and future Hadrian sometimes comes in and it's like, and that's the last time I saw them, or, oh, and then she died. And you're just like, what is going on? I love that this is the foundation for this series, and I know it's going to keep getting better and better, which just already is kind of blowing my mind, because this as the starting point I think was just phenomenal. I loved everything about this. Was truly hanging on Hadrian's every word. I love the way he experiences the world, the way he sees things in the world, and the Hadrian that we meet at the beginning of this book, very sheltered, he's comfortable, noble, has everything at his feet, to having to hit rock bottom and literally be beaten down and have to fight for his life and learning how to survive in the world and on a mesh on his own and even beyond. It's just, I think it's so good, you guys. Just the growth that we're already seeing in Hadrian just in this book one alone, I think is great. I am so excited for book 2. I think Howling Dark is I think it's going to be amazing. But before I get into Howling Dark, I do actually have The Lesser Devil, which is the novella, the first novella, and it follows his brother Crispin. So I really want to get into that. I hate to use the word excited because Crispin is so ridiculous, but yeah, I want to see the world from his perspective now and what he's going through, and I think it's going to be great. So Lesser Devil first, and then I get to move on to Howling Dark. But I really think this is something special. Definitely one of my favorite book ones in a series that I've probably ever read. I keep comparing it to Grace of Kings. I would put it up there with the first book in a series like The Grace of Kings. I think this is just absolutely perfect. So that is it for me, you guys. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts on Empire of Silence. I would love to hear where you are in your Sun Eater journey currently, and I love this book so much. So that is it for me, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.